I see art as the most important, or maybe just like the biggest or the first element of the world. It is just like that merge of elements and like conception, birth, creation. That's art.
The art is also teaching us about the good things. Why do you need to take things so seriously? And it is not such a dramatic thing to do. And because some people, they have such a big idea of art, and I don't like going to exhibitions, I don't get it, and it's not about getting it, it's just about go there and see it, and what do you like about it? What are you doing with it? I think it would be a pretty sad place to live in if we didn't have art.
Also das ist irgendwie, also Kunst hat auch was mit der Zeit zu tun, also dass man die Zeit anhalten möchte. Ich glaube, so ein Kunstwerk muss auch immer irgendwie sowas symbolisieren, dass die Zeit stehen bleibt.
Art is kind of a mirror, at least in my mind, a mirror of society. It kind of shows you, well, it can show you kind of the state of the society.
I think also people have a right to just determine if it's important for them or not. I don't think it needs to be important for everybody.
I don't even know if what I do is important to anyone, but I guess that's one of the perks of being an artist. I don't really have to care. I just do what I want to do, and I guess most of the other artists are the same.
It's pretty nice growing up as an artist in Iceland. Most of the people, they're friends and they're helping out, and people are talking, and it's kind of like this big group of just people that like to do nice things. That's at least how I've seen it just through my career, that it's just a bunch of artists that are just doing it for the cause.
The art scene is quite, it's very active and friendly, and there's a lot of goodwill between establishments. We don't, for example, have any equipment, but we can approach other establishments that do have them, both art museums and artisan spaces, and borrow or rent for a low price. So there is this kind of they're willing to do you a favor, and yeah, there's a lot of goodwill. So I would say it's a rather friendly scene.
Everyone knows each other, and so if you're newly graduated, it's very easy to be somehow familiar with all the maybe established artists. So it's like a big family, but maybe not everyone are friends, but they're just a group of people who know each other, and I actually like it. It takes away a lot of this like bad atmosphere of who is the best, or like levels of people, and it feels like everyone is on the same level. And also because we don't really have that much money in the art scene here, it makes it even more, we're just in the same game. We have a passion or something which drives us to do this.
Well, there is a certain, in this community there's also a certain lack of criticism, constructive criticism. It's because it's so close, and it's really hard to be critical towards somebody who is a colleague or a collaborator. So I think, I guess the quality could sometimes be higher if there was more demand for that. But there's also good points to this kind of the fast turnover. Like artists kind of work fast here. The work doesn't always get to develop a lot before it's exhibited. You kind of just make it and show it sometimes, which really also depends, though, of course, between artists. But there's also just a certain like immediacy to that, which is also just fresh and interesting. So.
The thing about Berlin is that, and it's a positive thing, it's that it's very heterogeneous. So I don't think there is one art community as I perceive it. There are many smaller networks or communities. So, and the way I see it, I'm still in touch with people with whom I studied, for instance. And of course, once in a while you would meet new people and so on. So I can only talk for myself, but what I can also see is that there are so many exhibitions you can go, and many great artists living in Berlin, and that's a real privilege, I would say.
I can't really describe the art scene because it's too many different little circles. In other German cities, like Cologne, you have an art scene, you have this like everyone knows everyone else, and you do not have that in Berlin. There's all kinds of little circles that, because of, I don't know, the most different reasons, like they come from the same country, they've studied at the same school, they are the same age, they live in the same area of the city. So there's all kinds of little art scenes that collide or connect, but they also kind of stay separate.
When you have a big metropolitan, you can really have scenes, and many of them, and they might almost never meet. They might never work together or clash or even see each other's work.
It's diverse, it's random. There's people who are making shit with neon paint. There's people who are, painting their bodies and hula hooping. And then there's people who are, real oil painters. And then there's people who are excellent video artists and interactive artists. And no, I can't. I mean, I think Berlin is awesome. It's just vibrant, and there's just pockets everywhere.
There are just good things about both situations. In Iceland, you maybe go to almost every art exhibition that is happening in Reykjavik, if you're staying in Reykjavik, if you want to be active at least. While here you could, like I said before, like stay more where your interest is at that moment, and then also you have so much offers to, you know, every day you can see 1,000 things.
Ich bin so wunderschön. Ich bin die schönste Frau von Berlin. I show my tits, das Kleid rutscht hoch, ja Titi tanzt burlesque, Transy dreaming, tragique and magnifique. Ich dreh Liebesfilme in Italien, meine Liebe bekommen aus Spanien. Einer kauft mir jetzt eine Wohnung in Manhattan, da machen wir l'amour und springen in die Betten. Ich bin die schönste Frau von Berlin. Yes, and you see it all in the newspaper. No? Every day when I open the newspaper, there will be a exclusive hotel here, some streets far away. No? It costs a lot of money. No? And before there was artists ateliers in it. No? The owner kicked the artists out and make a exclusive hotel.
Then here and in Iceland also, it's challenging to find a good studio. And that has changed in both cities. I mean, it used to be very easy in both cities to find like a big studio, relatively cheap, where you can work on big sculptures, and you can make a mess and you have a high ceiling and you don't have any neighbors to complain about you making a lot of noise and stuff like that. And in both of this city, this is now like, if you don't have very good connections or money or extreme luck, then you will probably face this.
The only thing that's been happening now is like most of the smaller spaces have been losing their lease. So, and it's moving a little bit from the center to maybe more peripheral areas. And it's kind of funny to be on both sides here. We're kind of a part of the gentrification on one hand with the cafe, and then kind of trying to hold on to the past a little bit, maybe with the gallery space.
I'm not sure if it's all like come to light just yet, because there are spaces that have closed down, but what is about to happen is that a lot of artists are going to lose their studios. These studio kind of complexes are going to be turned into hotels, and when that happens, I'm not sure how it will be. Like that will be really terrible. I hope they kind of stop it. But I know like one for sure that houses a lot of artists that it will be turned into a hotel next summer. So I guess we just have to move to the suburbs.
They're going to tear down this part of the building, so it's not. It's just going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it.
But it's the same in every big city, you know. It's always the same circle. It's like the artists, they go into the poor neighborhood, they build it up, and then it's taken over and they move. And it's just what is happening here.
Artists are the first to gentrificate an area. So first there come the artists, because we always look for cheap places, affordable places and housings. And oftentimes these areas also are very inspiring. So artists are part of gentrification, of course.
Both in Berlin and Reykjavik has been going through the phases of gentrification and all that comes with that. Reykjavik tourism also. I mean, I don't even know Reykjavik anymore in that sense. Like I wouldn't want to live where I used to live in Reykjavik before. Now I try to stay in the suburbs. It's more tolerable somehow.
I think gentrification is always a negative or does always have a negative impact, but we can't really do much about it. The problem is more on the side of those who buy and sell houses to make profit out of people moving around. It's not really something that we as artists can deal with. We might be part of the problem, but it's not our fault. We can't change it. So it's just gonna happen, and we have to deal with it.
We are quite lucky with our landlords. The previous establishment in this space was a fishmonger, and they were here for 22 years. Our neighbors have been here forever, so we feel quite safe here, that we can stay for a while. And the rent increase has not taken any huge leaps for us yet, so we hope it stays that way. But I see it just around in other spaces that have opened up and closed down, which were not as fortunate with their landlords.
Like when I started my career, I just found empty spaces here in downtown that were sort of centrally placed, and just threw up some exhibitions there. But that is, I think that's becoming increasingly harder or impossible to do now. I mean, there's not many empty spaces anymore. So yeah, I suppose I've noticed that. And also, yeah, there used to be quite a lot more art galleries here in downtown Reykjavik, but they're sort of moving out to the periphery of the town. So yeah, I think the tourists would like not only like a vibrant art scene, but also just more of everything, more or less of it like touristy stores. One would think that they need to purchase things, but still it doesn't seem to be room for anything but like these tourist stores, like these souvenir stores. I think in the whole it's probably had a very positive impact because because of all the money it brings to the country, which sort of in an indirect way goes. I mean, that means that people in general here have more money between their hands and can buy artwork. So I suppose it's in general it's a positive development.
I don't really think of that this area is in that same boat. I think this place, because of where it is and how this area works, I think when you go to the west side of Berlin, you can really see what gentrification means and did. You know, you can go to, even in some areas in the east, like up in Prenzlauer and Friedrichshain in some areas, you can see what that meant. This, I think, is more on the process of just kind of logical change.
I honestly and personally think it's like a very crazy idea to run a space and also pay the rent. You know, because I mean, there's a lot of work which goes into this, and all the work you do for no money is a lot of time and money. So of course you need to find a very cheap place or squat a place or just make something temporary. I mean, it's quite ridiculous also because if you're doing something experimental and it's not about sales, you know, then it's quite impossible to find a place to rent in the center. But some people are happy, they find ways, you know, there's always like you just have to ask for it, and then you see the opportunities, you know.
Doing these things, organizing little shows, making projects by other fellow artists happen is something that makes me happy, so that's basically the core motivation for me to do it.
I think about space a lot. I think about the artist's relationship to how artists use space, what space means to an artist. I mean, even if it's just like a canvas or a wall, I think about how that space is being used, and that's kind of always been a driving force in how I did it.
People just adapt to any kind of situations, and you know, when you don't have the space that you feel you need, you just either, you know, get depressed or you do something about it, and that can include that you just that you just take your space, or even like in a very aggressive way, just kind of steal it, or take over it.
The interesting thing that the tourist has been doing for the art scene is that it's helping him spread somewhere else. Yeah, because before we used to have like an artisan space here at Reykjavik, and there was more like things like that, like spaces like this, which could really manage to be here, but now the rent and everything is going insane. So artists just have to find new ways, and that's the best people to find new ways in something like that, because they can do something great with like shitty places. And so yeah, I think that's the interesting thing the tourist scene has done.
And nothing was too small or inconvenient for creating an art space or an art venue, because somehow it's like, you know, like a Mary Poppins bag, you know, just to create something, and it seems the possibilities are endless once you've opened it, you know.
I think it's really important to, like, if you want to be artist or musician or something, to make your own scene and make things happen, and that's how things get going.
In my experience, artists very often invent their own opportunities. There are always some things coming from some sort of institutions within its place, and I think that's quite equal between these cities, at least as I know it. But I think mainly, like, people invent their opportunities, they invent, you know, they create. It's not only about creating an artwork, it's also about creating a place and events and atmosphere and just, you know, make yourself a space.